As Shakespeare said in King Henry VI, suspicion always haunts the guilty mind. In this classic piece of Gothic literature by Edgar Allan Poe, a narrator meticulously plans, executes, and covers up a murder, only to be turned in by his own paranoia and insanity. Whether this is a tale on how guilt can corrupt the mind, or a simply spooky story, it's certainly one to get your heart beating. The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. Why do you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses. Above all was hearing acute. I heard all things in heaven and hell. It is impossible to say how the idea first entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object, there was none. Passion, there was none. I think it was his eye. Yes, a pale blue eye with a film all over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. So I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. So every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh, so gently. But I found the eye was always closed, and it was impossible for me to do my work, for it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening up the door. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. I fairly chuckled, and perhaps he heard me as the old man sprang up into bed and crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour, I did not move a muscle. I resolved to open a very, very little crevice in the lantern, so I opened it very stealthily, until at length a single dim ray, like the thread of a spider, shot out upon the vulture eye. It was wide open. I grew furious as I gazed upon it, and then to my ears came a low, dull, quick sound. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates a soldier into courage. It grew louder and louder and quicker and quicker. I thought the heart might burst, and now a new anxiety seized me. The noise would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I leaped into the room, and he shrieked once, but only once. Still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe to you the wise precautions I took in the concealment of the body. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatsoever. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. There entered 3 men who introduced themselves as the police. Smiled. For what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. I brought chairs into the room. They sat, and I answered cheerily. But ere long, I felt myself getting pale, and I fancied a ringing in my ears. But I found the ringing was not within my ears. It was a low, dull, quick sound. I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice, but the noise steadily increased. I talked more quickly, but the noise steadily increased. I paced to and fro, but the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore, but it grew louder, 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 and still the men chatted pleasantly. Almighty God, they heard. They knew they were making a mockery of my horror. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. Louder, louder, louder. Hark! Villains, I shrieked. Dissemble me no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. It was the beating of his hideous